Nebraska may finally have their quarterback in true freshman Dylan Raiola. The Cornhuskers are currently on one of their worst stretches since the 1940s, with 7 straight losing seasons, but with Raiola, there's a lot of excitement and hype around the Nebraska program this season. Can Raiola save Nebraska? But before we get into this, if you enjoy college football content like this, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. Also, let me know which player you are most excited to watch this season in the comment section below. Dylan Raiola started his high school career in Texas before moving to Arizona, but would finish out his career in Georgia. He is the son of Dominic Raiola. Dominic was the Remington Trophy winner, an award that goes to the best center in the country, went on to be an All-American at Nebraska. He then would go on to play 14 seasons in the NFL with the Detroit Lions. Nebraska has since retired his jersey and has since hired Donovan Raiola as the Huskers offensive line coach, who was one of the few members of the previous staff to be retained by head coach Matt Rule when he took over. Dylan's mother is a former swimmer and water polo player at Hawaii. From them, Dylan inherited his athleticism, poise, and fighting spirit rooted in their heritage. His mother keeps track of Dylan's Twitter account. His sister Taylor, a former TCU volleyball player, monitors his Instagram profile on her phone. Dylan saw limited bits of the public bickering and commentary about him. This was able to help him block out the noise and just focus on playing football. While Dominic was a center in the NFL, he sat with his quarterbacks and watched film with them, making calls at the line of scrimmage. Drew Stanton told The Athletic, "Probably the smartest player I've ever been around. Dom would be able to see things in real time. Allowed the quarterbacks to just be able to go out and play." From a young age, Dylan gravitated towards the quarterback position. Growing up, Dylan got to learn from guys like Jon Kitna, Drew Stanton, Matthew Stafford, and others. Calvin Johnson would pick him up and take him out for jet ski rides from time to time. He absorbed all the information he could from anybody he got to talk to and work with. Kitna was the first person to predict that Dylan would be the best quarterback in the country one day after watching him throw the ball around in 8th grade. Dylan started his high school career at Burleson High School, where he played for Kitna. During his freshman year, Dylan was an under-the-radar, unknown junior varsity football player. He attended the Nashville Elite 11 camp that following the summer, as well as a camp at Georgia where he would earn a scholarship offer. Dominic told The Athletic, "Everybody kept telling us, this dude is the best quarterback we've seen, no matter the class." He also competed in different baseball competitions along the way as well. His teammates included some of the most talented baseball players in the country, including Derek Curell, Chris Newstrom, and former number 2 rated player in Texas, pitcher first baseman Jack Frankel. As a sophomore, Raiola threw for 3,341 yards and 32 touchdowns, while adding 9 rushing touchdowns on the ground. He was named the Texas District 5-5A2 Offensive MVP. Kitna told the Bleacher Report, "There's not a throw he can't make. He understands coverage and where the weak spots are in every coverage. He knows protection. He knows how to set up the run game to the right spot. He's going to be a 4.6 kid at the end of it and be someone that can hurt you running with his legs. Just an incredible deep ball thrower. That's one of the things that's really separating him." He would then move to Arizona, transferring to Chandler High School. During his junior year, he would throw for 2,435 yards, 22 touchdowns, and 5 interceptions. Chandler finished the season 9-3, losing to Basha in the semifinals of the Open Playoffs. At one point, Chandler High School had won 5 straight state titles. That offseason, the program watched as 20 players transferred out, including Dylan. Dylan and his brother Dayton decided to transfer to Pinnacle High School, where Spencer Rattler played high school ball. In Arizona, their transfer generated more noise and questions about Dylan's immediate eligibility that fall. Nationally, that narrative sort of flew under the radar. Dominic fought to help his son stay eligible, claiming hardship. Arizona Interscholastic Association transfer bylaws make first-time AIA transfers ineligible the first 5 games of the football season, or becoming eligible the rest of the season. Dayton Raiola would have been eligible immediately to play JV at Pinnacle because of a clause being put into the transfer rule that allowed underclassmen to play as long as it's not varsity. Pinnacle reached the 6A championship game the previous season behind sophomore quarterback Wyatt Horton. Back in June, Dylan decided to transfer high schools once again, this time to Buford High School in Buford, Georgia. There he played with fellow 5-star prospect Khalil Bolden and defensive end Edric Houston. One of the reasons they made this decision was because the AIA wouldn't have heard his hardship case until August 15th. Dominic told ESPN, after meeting with the head coach at Pinnacle High School, he was very confident that Dylan would have to sit games out, and Dylan didn't want to sit games. He wanted to play right away, and I think for our family, where we are, it just made total sense. Let's get him into a program because you can say he is moving to another high school. This, that, the other. I think people would rather see Dylan play than sit, and so we're excited about it. This led to some in the media questioning how serious Dylan's commitments were, but I think that was a bad take for someone who is just looking at things from the surface level. In a short time period, Dylan had developed a great relationship with his high school teammates who loved him, and he had taken over a leadership position. He showed his teammates early that he was willing to do anything to help his high school win a state title. Buford is home to nearly 20 major college prospects. Dylan got to play against a talented defense every day in practice, which he believed helped him develop. He told On3, they're probably one of the best in the country with the way that they play, the kind of guys that they have on the team. I think it's about developing relationships with these guys, not just recruiting, but around life outside of football. I think that's what makes these relationships a little more special. In the first game of his high school season, Dylan led Buford to a win over St. Francis, who was the 5th best high school football program in the nation, and had over a dozen Power 5 players on their roster. Andrew Ivins from 24/7 Sports wrote that following weekend, on a night where the pocket was hardly kept clean, Raiola showed why he's considered the nation's top signal caller. The Georgia commit limited mistakes, flashed a live arm, consistently creating in the face of pressure, and most importantly, put the game away when he needed to in the fourth quarter. He made NFL-caliber throws throughout the night and led them to an 18-0 win, throwing for 185 yards and 2 touchdowns. But the numbers only paint part of the picture. Raiola, for the most part, looked comfortable and in control of his offense. He also wasn't afraid to test a secondary that featured Oregon commits and Tennessee commits, and a handful of other blue chippers. Dylan finished his senior year throwing for 2,666 yards and 34 touchdowns to 1 interception. Dylan loves the game of football, Drew Stanton telling The Athletic, I don't like to speak in cliches, but the kid absolutely lives and breathes football. He does it in a genuine way. It's not about his dad saying, hey, we want to do this. He's pressing the envelope on his own accord. And I think that's what is going to make him great. He was asking very pointed questions about specific things. It was impressive. I realized I wasn't just dealing with a high school kid as we were having these talks. I was dealing with a high-level thinker. Matthew Stafford believed Dylan is going to be a great player at the next level, as his godfather. Coming out of high school, according to 24/7 Sports Composite, Dylan Raiola was a 5-star recruit and was the 21st best player in the 2024 recruiting cycle. Dylan accumulated over 28 different Division I offers from likes of Alabama, Georgia, Nebraska, Ohio State, and USC. He originally committed to Ohio State over Alabama, Georgia, Oregon, Texas, and USC, becoming the first commit in the Ohio State's 2024 recruiting class. Raiola told 24/7 Sports, what the culture is, I felt it immediately when I walked in the building for the Penn State game during the fall. Going back up there and seeing things, hearing what former players of Ohio State say about the program, gathering information, all the dots connected. It felt like home and I'm ready to be a Buckeye. Dylan stayed committed to the Buckeyes for most of the 2022 season, but would decide to decommit for the Buckeyes that December. Two-time national champion Georgia was in hot pursuit of Raiola, along with USC and Nebraska. He took a visit to USC where his relationship with Coach Riley shot through the roof, and he clicked even more after talking for 5 hours. Dylan kept coming back to Athens though, taking multiple unofficial visits when the family pays out of pocket for everything. In May before his senior year, he decided to commit to Georgia, saying, there's a culture and a standard that I was attracted to. The more time that we went by, the stronger I felt about Georgia and ultimately led to my decision. He chose Georgia over the likes of his father's alma mater, Nebraska, as well as Alabama, Georgia, Texas, Notre Dame, Oregon, and USC, among others. The second time around, he decided to take his time with the college decision and refused to be rushed by the coaches to make up his mind. He told ESPN, I was able to have conversations with my family, my pastors, and mentors. The stability allowed me to be still and be patient and allow God to guide me. Georgia's program isn't based off of one person or one position group. I'm committed to the growing and developing as a person and student athlete. Excited to work with Coach Mike Bobo and Coach Montgomery Van Gorder. It's pretty unique how this will become a full circle moment, as Coach Bobo developed Uncle Matthew Stafford during his time at Georgia. The substance behind Georgia's success is the biggest factor. Coach Kirby Smart has built this program to last, and I'm excited and honored to be a part of it, whether it's in the classroom, on the field, or in the weight room. I know I'll be pushed to my very best every day. It seemed like Georgia was where he was going to end up playing, but then he decided to flip his commitment to Nebraska in December, explaining, I firmly believe that Nebraska is in my blood. It's a great opportunity to be a part of something bigger than myself. Nebraska is a special place, just because of the legacy of so many great players that have walked through the locker room that's been established there, to keep doing what they've established. Just a history of Nebraska football. It's not just another program. Nebraska also gave Dylan the opportunity to start right away. Something interesting from this is the fact that this continued the Buford curse. Dylan also became one of the 7 legacy recruits in Nebraska's 2024 recruiting class, while also being the highest rated recruit in program history. When Dylan arrived on campus, Nebraska posted a picture of him, which received nearly 14 million views in 1 week. The fans responded with so much excitement comparing him to Patrick Mahomes. Heading into this season, Nebraska is coming off 7 straight losing seasons, which is the program's worst stretch since the 1940s. Heading into week 1 of the season, Raiola impressed enough that he was officially named the week 1 starter, which was viewed as the worst kept secret in college football. 24/7 Sports wrote on August 21st, over the last decade, true freshman starters posted varying degrees of success in their debut seasons and followed career trajectories ranging from disappointing to Heisman Trophy campaigns. Back in 2018, Adrian Martinez was the Cornhuskers' last true freshman to start a season. He would have his best season at Nebraska his freshman year, throwing for 2,617 yards, 17 touchdowns and 9 interceptions, also rushing for 629 yards and 8 touchdowns on the ground. There's so much hype for Raiola, who wears the same number as Tommy Frazier and Patrick Mahomes. The hype is unreal for such a young quarterback who didn't even control his own social media for most of his high school career. Nebraska Cornhusker on SI wrote last week, "My fellow fans, we need to be prepared for scenarios where Raiola struggles in a game and sits out for a series or two. I know, that is a blasphemous thing to suggest, but it's not realistic to expect a true freshman quarterback to go through a season without experiencing some bumps in the road." And I think he's 100% right. Raiola is not going to be perfect, and there will be some major growing pains throughout the season. That may not show up against UTEP, but come week 2, Nebraska hosts Colorado in a primetime game on NBC. Will that be where he struggles his first time? Will it be when they travel to Columbus to take on Ohio State come October 26th? Raiola should impress, but he's not going to win the Heisman Trophy this year. Nebraska fans have not had a lot to be excited for a long time, but they can't expect too much from a true freshman quarterback who transferred to multiple different high schools throughout his career. They need to let him develop and not stunt his growth by trying to run him out of town when he starts to struggle. Len Thomas has a successful and long track record for developing quarterbacks, and fans will just need to trust the process. Nebraska could have a strong wide receiving core this year with Isaiah Nayor and Jamal Banks arriving via the transfer portal. I'm not a Nebraska fan, but I'm excited to see how Raiola does for the Cornhuskers this season and hope he can make them relevant again. What do you think? How well will Dylan Raiola do this season? Let me know in the comment section below. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to check out one of my other videos YouTube thinks you will love right here. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, remember to embrace the grind.